We've all heard the talk that businesses need to be more diverse, but how do you achieve that? Do you use carrot or stick? The Financial Conduct Authority and the Bank of England want to speed up progress in making the City of London more diverse. This is a step, they say, that could help to boost the safety and soundness of UK banks and investment firms. What's their suggestion? Well, it's to make senior business execs have their pay linked to progress in making their workforces more diverse and inclusive. But what does the law say about linking pay to identity politics? Joining me to discuss this is Kevin Poulter, who's an employment lawyer at Freeves LLP. Kevin, good evening to you.
Hello.
Is it legally doable, possible, that you can do this, basically, that you can take someone's pay and say, right, you know, unless you make sure that you hire a gay person, a straight person, a man, a woman, a black person, a disabled person, then you don't get your pay?
We've got to separate out sort of salary really from other bits of pay. So bonuses, for example, is one of the things where you would expect maybe there to be other than financial sort of parameters, sort of markers, indicators of how those bonuses are achieved. And one of those elements could be around diversity, absolutely, in the same way that it could be linked to sort of corporate social responsibility, sort of good governance, sort of meeting certain targets. So in that respect, absolutely no concern about it. It's interesting, though, you mentioned the carrot and the stick. And what really the Financial Conduct Authority, the Bank of England and others are looking to do here is to start that conversation. There's nothing being forced on anyone just yet. It's just really to get an idea of what's happening in practice already. And this is happening already in various institutions, in various companies and businesses. And where do we want to go towards? What's sort of the feel, what's the mood at the moment? And we all know that diversity is very much a sort of a topical conversation right now in society. Of course, that is replicated in business as well, and in organizations and in the workplace. And doing the right thing, getting that conversation started, and really trying to sort of push through sort of positive change, I think is absolutely reasonable. And in that sense, fair that it's linked to sort of that extra remuneration other than just doing the day-to-day job.
And how would this work in practice? So if someone's got a target to, I don't know, make sure they've got 4 women, they need 4 women on their board and 1 disabled person, let's just say they need a black person, are they able legally to advertise a role and basically say only women need apply or only disabled people may apply?
No, there's a fine line in some ways between what's sort of positive discrimination and what we call positive action. And one of them is saying we will only recruit a black man into this role, and there are very limited circumstances where that might be acceptable. And even now, in the theatre, for example, or in films, we're seeing that there's sort of a blind casting in many respects. So to a point, that's allowable and acceptable in very limited circumstances. But broadly speaking, no. You can encourage, you can sort of target particular candidates, applicants for roles. What you can't do is to exclude anybody who doesn't fall into that bracket.
So, for example, let's just say a white middle-aged man would apply for a role, and he is equally capable, say, as, I don't know, a black person that applied for the same role, so same qualifications, same experience. Is the organisation then allowed to say, well, actually, I've got a list here and I've got a box to tick and I need a black person, so I'll give the role to him purely because of the skin colour? Wouldn't the white person and the white man in this example then have a case to actually say that was unfair discrimination?
So that's one of the very limited examples of positive action, actually, where you've got 2 people who are identical in qualification, in experience, and again, how rare is this actual situation in the first place? But where you do have that situation, if there is an underrepresentation of a particular protected characteristic, and it's not just about colour, it's about potentially disability, it's about gender, the full range. If in that limited circumstance there is a minority and underrepresentation either in that sector or in that organisation, then it's possible to favour that minority group, to simply to try and sort of encourage and to build sort of a greater diversity within that organisation, and the benefits that come with that as well, of course.
And how does this work in terms of diversity of thought? Because it's all interesting saying, oh, I need to structure my board with all of these physical characteristics that are different, whether it's gender, sex, colour, whatever. But how does it work in making sure, because surely what's important and what's impactful in terms of a company is not, someone's physical ability or someone's skin colour. It's actually their thought process, their ability and their way of thinking and way of looking at the world. So how does one make sure that there is a diversity of thought if all you're doing is trying to achieve diversity of physical characteristics?
I think, again, a lot of diversity of thought comes from diversity of experiences and sort of culture. And that naturally comes with certain sort of varieties of people, with a mixed group of employees within a workplace or elsewhere, bringing people together. That naturally creates this sort of melting pot of ideas, which might be greater than sort of and if you look at the financial services sector specifically, that there's a lot of sort of older white men at the top of those organizations. It's about bringing in this idea of being more representative of the people who they are serving, who they're working for, their clients are, their suppliers are, and absolutely creating that diversity of thought, which has been proven before to sort of drive innovation, bring back results and productivity, and generally a more sort of palatable working environment.
And just very, very quickly, my final question to you. Do you think this suggestion of incentivising them with their pay will work? Do you think this is the way? Because obviously the city in particular has been criticised for not moving quickly enough. Do you think all of a sudden, if these execs feel it in their pockets, that suddenly they'll start moving a bit quicker with this?
Well, we've had so many other examples. So gender pay gap reporting, we know, came in 2017. There's talk now about diversity and ethnicity pay gap reporting, and pressure really from businesses onto the government to try and to build that and to establish that as law. And we've seen that it really takes big steps and actually sort of leadership to start with, but also sometimes mandating things or linking it to pay is another option, is the only thing that does actually bring about real change, certainly in a speed. When people have to do it, or there's an incentive, a genuine, personal, individualized incentive to do that. So it could have a huge impact. I'm not entirely sure it's going to happen as sort of in such a black and white way, to use a phrase, as it might be expected. This is the start of a conversation. It's not just about box ticking. It's about driving cultural change. It's about training. It's about encouraging people to think outside the box, actually, and to build up things that way. So I think there's huge incentives. I think there's great potential there. Previously, this sort of slow approach, this sort of gentle approach, hasn't quite worked.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.